Coach, we're here right after media days. I apologize for doing it right after. But being in the Big 12 now, like, what's the difference in the Big 12 media days as opposed to not being in this conference? Not even the school, but you not being in the conference. Like, what's that media day like compared to the past that you've been in?
Yeah, this one had obviously a lot more fanfare to it. The venue was incredible. We were at on the floor or on the field at Allegiant Stadium, and I was explaining it to one of our players because they had watched all the clips on social media. And when I was sitting on the stage there was literally like 50 yards of media, not paying attention while I was up there. But like some guys asked questions. It was a lot of fun. It was extremely well done. Kind of the first time for all of us to be together as a conference. And so, the Big 12 definitely put their best foot forward.
A lot of new. You're new here. The school is new in the conference. It feels a bit like it could be a culture change just for everyone because, again, you're playing schools you never played before, or that the school has really never played before. There's no history. So do you have to go and kind of watch tape of every school, have your scouting department watch tape of every school, like baseline before the season starts?
You always do that. And actually, I got this question yesterday, so I'm ready. But the other part that happens is by the time you play your conference opponents, you've already played 2, 3, 4, or 5 games. And so by then, you're really basing everything off of what's happening in the 2024 season. Rosters are changing over. There's so many different players as part of rosters. We definitely went through the spring and the early summer and did like preliminary scouting reports of our opponents. But the majority of those kind of those schematic decisions will be made based on the guys that are playing this year.
It feels like when you come in now because of the portal and the option for kids to jump out, that you have to move into the house and welcome everybody really quickly to get them to stay, quicker than ever before, because they can. Do you feel that like as soon as you're hired, you have to get here and start cultivating relationships immediately?
That's exactly what we did. Actually, right here in this office, my first day I met the team, which was a Tuesday. Met him at 4 o'clock, and after that I had a conversation with Noah Fafita and said, hey, why don't you get some of the guys together tomorrow that you think I need to talk to, and let's sit down and let's just talk. And so the next day at 2 o'clock after my press conference, I came in here and there was 25 kids, and we sat here and I sat up there and they just kind of filled the room and they just fired questions at me. And I said, ask whatever you want. And because it was that, like, I needed to give them a chance to get to know me. Obviously they know each other, but I needed to give them a chance to get to know me. It was great. And when we were done, it took about 2 hours. And when we were done, I said, how'd this feel? And they're like, this is cool, all right. And I said, okay, you guys want to do it again tomorrow? And they said, yeah. So the next day, plus or minus a few players, like the same group came back. And we went through the same thing with a bunch of different questions. And it was absolutely trying to get to know each other as fast as we could.
I feel like day one, maybe a lot of questions about the scheme, if they want to stay, if it's going to make sense. How many carries do you plan on giving the run? Day two is like, what color are the cleats? I mean, is that kind of how it went? Like day two, they want to know like the cool things?
No, I would say there was some of that in day one too. The cleat question was the first day, and I told them, I don't care as long as they're Nike. I said, if I care about that, we got much bigger problems, on game day. So, every head coach is different. Every head coach has their own style, their own philosophy, the stuff they believe in. And I was just trying to give them an idea of what was going to be important to me and what I was going to want to make sure they understood where I was coming from on certain things. And I wanted to hear what they thought, because I think sometimes players don't think they have any say in their program. That's not my style. Like, I want them to have all the say. I know the buck stops with me, and I get that, but I want them to understand that they have input here, and that we're going to make decisions together that directly impact our football team.
You mentioned Noah specifically. Obviously, crazy baller. As soon as you get the job, do you call him even quicker than getting here to make sure that he's committed to staying? Like, was there a back channel with him that you knew he wanted to stay? What was that process like?
No, it really wasn't like that. It all happened pretty fast. And so I was just trying to get down here and get a chance to get to meet everybody. So on the first day, I met everybody briefly. It was pretty quick. And then after the team meeting and the guys broke up and left, I had to go over to HR. And Noah jumped on the back of the golf cart I was in with my wife. And they whisked me into HR, and we're talking for a minute. And she comes in and interrupts. She's like, hey, I think you need to sit down with Noah Fafita. I'm like, way to go, babe. Like she was on it, she was on it. And he and I had a great conversation, and that was the start of the plan to try and get everybody together the next 2 days. He still didn't know, I don't think. He wasn't sure. He was interviewing me as much as I was trying to get to know him.
Coach, I want to talk about the heat a little bit. It's serious over here. How does it play a role in how you do practices or how you just work in it?
Well, it's funny. I think the heat, the cold, it doesn't matter. Like those things are one deal that allows like players, coaches, people to make excuses to not play well or practice hard. So I'm always like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like if you get drafted in Green Bay, are you not going to play? No, of course you're going to play. Right. So for the heat here, like I actually love it. I'll take the heat over the cold or the heat over the rain any day. So far it's been good, but we've always been a morning practice team. So we'll practice in the morning and we'll be off the field by 12:30 every day.
In Colorado, if you run, your lungs are better when you're not in Colorado because the elevation. If you work out here in the heat, do you purposefully spend a little bit of time outside to get that, it's kind of like bonus hard workout? So when you go somewhere that's a little temperate, like your cardio, like you're so much more ready physically, or do you stay inside as much as possible?
I think we'll be outside for sure. I think there is a toughness, a mentality component to the heat or the cold or whatever extreme situation you have at your place. But we're going to do both. And really a lot of those decisions come down to a staff conversation or a conversation with our strength and conditioning coaches in our training room. Like, hey, if it's too hot and it's not safe, then we go indoors.
That was and you can probably look at me and tell, above mediocre, slightly above mediocre, high school football player on a small level. I wouldn't mean to brag.
He didn't agree, but
Don't mean to brag. But we didn't get water. That was how it was.
That was 20 years ago,
yep,
30 years ago.
But water was a treat. And we couldn't have water. I remember when Coach built this, he had a PVC pipe and he put a water hose into it and put a little spot.
Yeah.
That was like, they invented the car. We were like, wow. But I guess everybody gets water now, huh, when they want it?
Absolutely. We are. I would say we are aggressive with our hydration.
Yeah.
Because
Probably good. It's probably
yeah.
good.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, it's a health and safety concern for starters, baseline, but it's also it has a tremendous impact on performance, mentally, physically, all those things. So we're.
You remember that though,
water.
right? When like water.
Oh
was
yeah,
like,
no, like
okay, I'm not crazy.
Come on, yeah.
Back in
That's
our
the way
day,
it was.
Yeah, that's
how
the way
it was.
You didn't get water unless you earned it.
And the other thing is, we're sitting here talking. I appreciate you guys giving me the short seat, so I look so I look just like so much shorter than you guys.
That's right.
But,
That was strategic.
Question about a picture in the room. I got a couple. One, they've already retired your jersey apparently. Number one, Brennan over there. Yeah, I haven't even coached a game yet. So how did you talk him into retiring your jersey?
That was the jersey they handed me the day I was hired.
Got it. Okay, it's the hiring jersey.
There's nothing special about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then number two, there's a picture, and it shows a text message with like, I don't remember the number. It's like 1,624 unopened text messages. Correct. That must mean something big happened, and you have all these messages, and so you screenshot it. What is that picture?
So it's something I use with our team, and that's within like 36 hours after getting this job. I had that many text messages. And my point to the team is like when something good happens for you, like everybody reaches out, and when something bad happens, you don't hear from anybody. And their lives as football players, it's like that. Make a good play, social media, 5,000 hits. You make a bad play, 5,000 really bad stuff too. And so it's a message for them, like just don't give your power away to the social media world, your telephone, that part of it, because it's so fleeting, and really all that matters are the people that are in this building and the people that you love and respect.
I can't believe that many people have your phone number.
Not anymore.
Okay,
not anymore.
It's changed.
I've had a couple of really like lucky, cool moments. For at one point, I'd won a reality show. I'm not a reality person, but I won Dancing with the Stars, and I never danced before in my life, and so it was like that, right? I had all and then I got to the point where I just copied and pasted. Thanks, man. But then I started saying man to women, and then they realized it was all. Did you copy and paste answers back to people, or did you just not reply to all of them?
No, I'd say 600 of those have been unread.
Still. You don't have. You're not a dot guy. There's no way on your phone you have red dots.
Oh, everywhere. Yeah, everywhere.
We
got to go.
There's hope for me.
No, but if I'm taking time out of my day to respond to those people that much, Like the people that I need to respond to, I'm already responding to. They already know. I've already
just
seen
delete 'em
them.
all.
Yeah, that takes time.
The
And
red dots are driving me
Does take
crazy.
time.
Couple questions about the new rules this year. The communication inside the helmet. I think that's awesome. They've been doing it on, obviously, in the NFL levels all around except for where you guys are. How do you feel, and have you already started to work on that at all?
Yeah, we worked on that some in spring, and I think it's going to be really helpful. I think it'll be interesting. It'll avoid some of the sign stealing, nonsense and conversations that happen every year in college football. And I think it'll be also good for the players because as they aspire to play on the next level, that's going to be a component of of them playing also. So I think it's good for everybody.
Is more of it conversation nonsense, or is it stopping the actual sign stealing? Because we heard a lot about it last year, especially. Was it a bigger topic than it actually is, or has it been existing for a long time and it should have been a topic already?
I would say it's been going on forever. I think everyone's, in every sport, it's not just
For
specific
sure, like
to
if you
football.
can legally steal a
Yeah,
sign, that's
yeah.
not even stealing. That's taking someone left it out on the side of the curb. It's like a chair, and you pick it up on a Thursday.
It's kinda being smart.
Legally, if you do that, that's fair, right? But if not, if you're using other ways, that is unfair.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But just the natural of like reading signs or picking signs, like that's been happening forever.
Anyway, are you gonna do signs at all, like backup signs?
Yes,
Do you use any pictures of things?
we will not.
Okay, I was gonna say,
Oh,
could you use my head?
Yeah,
Like with the
I knew
glasses,
where that
like-
was going.
Yeah, like I would love to look on the sideline, coach. I've only ever given one school permission to do this. It's Arkansas, where I'm from, and I was like, in basketball, they hold up a big head of me on the court when they do this. But I'll let you use my head coach if you need to use it for a sign.
All right.
Big glasses.
If we go that route, you're in.
It could be like
Yeah.
dorky dive, and that's what it means. It's like straight dork dive right up the middle, coach. It'd be perfect. Rule change. Let's talk about another one. We talked about the communication. Are they doing the iPads? Do you get like 18? Is it 18 iPads? 16 iPads? Whatever it is. Well, somebody checked it. Well, would they be walking around going, all right, 1, 2, 3. Only, I think it's 16 or 18 iPads, or maybe not iPads. It could be tablets.
Tablets,
Yeah,
yeah.
generic.
Will somebody be checking to make sure somebody doesn't have 19 tablets?
I think it would be more honor code until someone said, "Hey, they're using too many tablets."
We
And
know
then
the
it
honor
got-
code's not good, coach.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
know that's not good. There's got to be
We've learned.
somebody in charge of the tablets.
Well, but like you're responsible for your own sideline, So at the end of the day, like I'm in charge. So like I'm not doing that for an extra tablet. That's insane. It would be wasted. Like that doesn't make sense.
And that's just to watch quick versions of the game, right? Game film.
Exactly. You're watching the previous series. Like I think in terms of like learning and making adjustments and understanding what's happening in real time, I think it'll be incredibly valuable.
I think that's also a great rule. This is a couple rules that I would like to see happen.
Oh, boy. Here we
No,
go.
I think because I love how the rule changes have finally been implemented. I love the communication in the helmet. Think about this one, Coach. Everything's the same, but when you score a touchdown, you get a chance to kick the extra point if you scored the touchdown, but that's worth 2. So let's say
The player that scored the touchdown?
player that scored the touchdown
Interesting.
now gets to kick the extra point if he wants, and if he makes it, it's worth 2 points. Thoughts?
This
I like
is
it.
good, Coach.
Yeah, I like it.
I think that's awesome because how often is that really going to happen? Not very often. Like it's like the old school 2-point conversion. They didn't do it a whole lot, but when they did, that was like crazy. But imagine.
It'd be fun. I think you would have. I think some of us would be like, all right, if we're going to go for 2, let's just call a 2-point play.
That's probably a good point too, Coach. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that.
Dang it. Well,
I
it was
didn't
new.
go
It
that
was
deep
new.
on
It
that
was
one,
new.
man. I didn't think about. Oh no. Okay. Fair enough.
You got another one?
I do have another one. This one's like legitimate though. I feel like they should at some point put some sort of digital tracking
Oh, gosh,
measurement
yes.
system in the balls. Meaning,
And the lines.
yeah, why are we it's humans first, then cameras, but sometimes there are still angles that don't have it clearly because there are people on both sides. Let's say a goal line play. And they're like, let's check but there are linemen on both sides of where the camera is. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree.
Okay, that's easy.
Okay. All right.
I'm
moving
1
on.
for 2 right now.
Okay, so are you also a proponent of the automatic strike zone?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think if you want to call it into play, let's say there's a challenge. I'm great. I love challenges up to a limit, and if you're right, you get to keep going. Like I think that's. How are you with the challenges?
Great. Yeah. all
Everybody
good.
says that. Yeah, he's great. He's the best.
No. I think like you have to be strategic with them. I think like sometimes because the fans are always like challenge, and you're like thinking of like the game, like the whole game or this half, situation, and you're like there's often times where you're like it's not worth it, or this game's tight. I'm gonna need that timeout. And so you're talking on the headset. Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Oh, is
You
there a
know,
sure guy?
No,
and you
well,
hold them
there's-
accountable?
No, but there's always like, because sometimes guys see it or they have access to a replay that you don't have on the field.
But
So-
if he says yes, coach, or
He's like,
you
"I'm
get
sure."
the okay, and then it's sure it's not right.
Yeah, I'll go for it, and sometimes that costs you a game.
He doesn't get water. See, I've got the punishment. No
knew it.
water for him the next outside practice. Yes. We're figuring this out.
We're not into capital punishment.
Yet.
One more rule change that I think will be
Oh,
good.
boy.
No, this is one. I am not a big fan of players faking injured and then getting back in after one play out. I don't know that there are many coaches that would admit they're fans of it unless they're doing it, but I would also train my players to do it, let me be honest. I would train. If there's a wide open offense, I'd be like, grab your hammy, baby, and get back out there in one play. Then I would be like, we don't like that. However, I think if that happens, if they have to stop the game for any reason injured, they can't come in until the next series. Thoughts on that?
I don't think that's necessarily bad, but I also know in football there are moments where a guy gets, turns an ankle or something, and then the time allows him to like kind of catch his breath, and he realizes he's not as hurt. So I could see it both ways.
Hey, you know what that means?
He likes it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I do. I actually think like for the most part, I do think football coaches have integrity. I don't think a lot of coaches coach that. I'm sure some do, but I do not believe the majority of them do.
But if it's not against the rules, I would argue it's not even an integrity thing. It's a strategy thing. If we make it against the rules, then it's an integrity thing. All my players will be doing
No,
it.
but feigning injury it is against the rules if you can like prove it. That's a problem.
But
It's so hard to prove.
Unprovable.
That's right. That's
it's
what
like
makes it so
someone who
hard.
says, I died and came back to life. We
Can't
can't
prove
say they
that.
didn't.
Can't
We don't
prove.
believe them,
Yeah.
but we can't say they didn't. Okay.
Coach, I want to talk about your career a little bit. You were the head coach over at San Jose State, and I believe it was 2019. You guys beat the first SEC team as a school. Do you remember that game?
Of course I do.
Dude, you act like it was the 80s.
Okay, what-
Coach, do you remember the game 5 years ago?
But I can tell he doesn't remember it.
Who did you guys beat?
We beat the University of Arkansas.
You're right. That's right.
No, I know who it was. That was a terrible game. It was a terrible game. I didn't want to bring it up.
Got the ball right
Yeah.
Where's that ball? Look at that.
We went to Western Kentucky and it was the same bullcrap where it was like on the wall. We had to stop and look at it. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, what was so cool about that game, Coach?
Oh, that game, it was because we were like in this massive rebuild and we were been struggling so far. The year before we were 1-11. And so I think that was game 3 and we were 1-1 going into it. And
He can't stand this.
It's not. I have no
Let
loyalty.
Coach
I'm
talk.
loyal to the University of Arizona right now.
Let
I'm
Coach
just
talk.
listening to a coach speak. I love it. It's very eloquent.
But yeah, so we went, going on the road, just the atmosphere to playing at a place like that,
In Arkansas.
the
in their
environment,
home.
just
Who's your quarterback?
our quarterback was Josh Love, who ended up being the Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year. So he was a good player, but the interesting thing is that the quarterback from Arkansas was Nick Starkel, who after that season transferred and played for us, and we won a conference championship with him.
That whole game, he was like, I'm in the
I
wrong
love
school.
Starkle. I thought Starkle was awesome. Anyway, we're moving on here.
That was a
real
good
quick.
question. Thank you, Coach.
When you come in and as a new guy, does everybody want to know like what offense are you running with us, and is that going to develop into more of what you have always done?
I would say that's not what we did this here. Lots of coaches are like that. I'm not necessarily like that. I am always like, how do we get the ball in our best players' hands and let them make a play, whether that's a quarterback or running back or wideout or tight end. I'm always about adjusting the scheme to the personnel. And so, there's been times where at San Jose, we ran the ball excellent. There was times where we threw it as good as anybody. And so it just depends on just what we have. And that changes year to year, and it really changes with the transfer portal. But when we came in here, what we did is we tried to adopt a lot of the things that they did here, Coach Fish and the players did here before, offensively and schematically, and then married it to what we did. So if it was similar, then we just called it what they called it here last year. So we tried to keep some of the language the same for the players. So we kind of put the onus on the coaches to learn more than the players. And then defensively, because of keeping Coach Aquina, we were able to keep the same defense in place. So,
Have you fallen? I'm just saying your leg, coach.
Yeah, I think you fell.
Hey,
Oh my God.
It's like
I
it's a
should have
wound.
worn pants.
He's got a wound
Should've
right
worn
next to him.
pants.
What
Oh
happened,
my
coach?
God.
What's going on? Pickleball? Or what?
So yeah, no, it was 4th of July. I was in San Diego, and I kind of got washed up on the rocks surfing, and so yeah,
This is cool.
I got shredded pretty good, but yeah, it was not as glamorous as it sounds when I say it. It was more like old man, but the funny part is that it happened on my way out because it's like high tide, but I didn't know all this happened, so I went out and body surfed for an hour, and then I got out and I was bleeding everywhere, so I was just shark bait all over the water. I was just chumming the water. I had no idea.
Yeah,
and I got out of
good.
the water and everyone's like, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I've been in the water for a long time, just bleeding everywhere."
Final 5 questions.
5 questions.
Final 5 questions. These are going to be quicker, Coach. So one of the cool things about traveling around the country, talking to really smart coaches, huge programs, it's like we also get to meet a lot of our childhood heroes. Like next week, we get to go hang out with Steve Young. We're going to Steve Young's house. Like Steve Young, to me, I'm left-handed. Did I mention I played football back in the day? I'm left-handed. Steve Young was left-handed. It was like him and Boomer Esiason on my 2 left-handed quarterbacks. For you, who was that when you were younger that you looked at as an athlete that was your favorite athlete?
When I was young,
Yeah.
because I'm a Niner fan, so I grew up in the Bay Area. So it was Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. And then I ended up being a receiver. And so, like, Jerry Rice is that guy for me.
So you hate Steve Young? We'll tell him. Hey, Steve.
No.
Didn't even mention you.
No, but
I'm
Steve,
kidding.
but
I'm
Steve
kidding.
threw a million touchdown
Yes.
passes to Jerry Rice. Like, they were incredible together.
Won Super Bowls for you.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, but when Joe got hurt and Steve came in, that was a tough time.
But it's amazing, though, because, like, how Steve handled that and then continued to have a Hall of Fame career. Like, that doesn't happen.
Only the Packers.
Like, that's just amazing.
Like, really, Favre to
Favre
Rodgers.
to Aaron Rodgers,
That's about it.
So rare.
What about when you got older? Was there a player that you emulated or thought, okay, he plays a little like I play? Was it Jerry Rice?
No, because Jerry Rice was good and I was not.
Oh.
So yeah, but whatever position you play, you're always looking at the guys that are in the NFL that you think are big time. That are,
Ed
that are
McCaffrey.
special. Ed McCaffrey. I watched him play in college because he was at Stanford, right? And so he was one of those guys because we used to go watch him on Saturdays. That's a good pull by you. But yeah, and he was incredible, and then had a great career in the NFL, the Giants and the Denver Broncos, right?
I want to ask you another picture.
This is question 4 left. 4 left.
Okay, 4 left. Another picture over there that I saw you and John Madden. What's behind that picture?
So that was cool. So Coach Madden and Steve Mariucci have a charity bocce ball tournament in the Bay Area every year, and they raise money for the Special Olympics, and it's an awesome event. And so we would go every year, San Jose State Athletics, and support it. And so I got to meet Coach Madden, and I put it up there because I always ask my players, "Do you know who that is?" Like all the pictures up there for just like talking points, because the players come in, they're like, "What's that? What's that?" And I'm like, "Do you know who that is?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "You've probably played that game more than any video game in your arsenal." And they look at me like, "That's Madden?" So yeah, it was cool.
That's a real person.
That's awesome.
You have a favorite book?
A couple. The Magic of Thinking Big and The Slight Edge.
You read those? Before I got here today, actually. Both at the same time. Yeah. Why those? Like, what about that have you taken and translated into what you're doing now?
Kind of the premise of The Slight Edge is that like what you do every single day compounds over time. And then the magic of thinking big is the idea that like most of us don't think big enough. We don't dream big enough. We just like kind of get in our way and we're just like, well, this is good enough, when actually most of us are capable of much more.
2 questions left.
Oof.
Yeah, I know. It's getting down to the nitty-gritty.
Man.
We got a culture question and a music question. Which one would you like next, Coach?
Music.
Give me your Mount Rushmore of favorite music. Your 4 for your whole life that you would put as if you could only listen to 4 artists.
Oh my gosh,
Come on,
that
Coach.
is rough.
That's tough. I know. That's what we do. We're hard-hitting.
All right. Okay, so my formative years were the 90s, I would say. And so I'm a 90s hip hop guy, so that would be some version of kind of NWA, Tupac, Snoop.
You're cheating.
somewhere.
You're cheating.
I know.
You're
but
cheating.
Picking
You got to
one,
pick one.
That's a tough one.
Or he picks all of them.
It
for
would
the
probably
Mount
be Snoop, and during that time, or and that stuck with me. I got 3 more.
3 more.
3 more. Wow, this is a tough one. Bob Marley.
Yeah, Yes.
Okay. And trying to think. God, this is a tough question.
Yeah, the room's
You're going to have
looking
to
at
edit
you.
the hell out of this.
Did you get this in media days, Coach?
Yeah, no. This
Yeah,
is more fun.
Exactly.
There,
more,
I
Coach.
answered the same question 500 times. Let's see. Who am I listening to the most? I would say like Beach Boys' greatest hits. And because I kind of was like a kid with my parents growing up listening to that. And then I would also throw in, Pearl Jam.
I love this
10,
guy.
some kind of.
I mean,
something like
Bob
that.
Marley, Pearl Jam, Beach Boys. This is my dude.
So, yeah, Snoop.
Snoop, this is my guy.
Final question. What's been great about the culture here at Arizona that is new to you, right? Every school has its own culture that, one, you have to learn. You have to make sure you do it right publicly. What have you had to learn quickly, but also you're like, oh, this is really cool and different to University of Arizona?
I think the Coach Fish and his staff recruited a bunch of really quality players and quality young men, and they are already incredibly connected. And I walked into a really special situation in terms of like the team culture. As it fits, like big picture here in Tucson, Arizona, this for the first time I'm in a place where I've never felt a city support a university like this one. Because the city is big, it doesn't feel that way, but there's 1 million people that live in kind of the greater Tucson area. And how much the city of Tucson cares about the University of Arizona, how much it cares about all our sports programs and the U of A is really special. It's a lot of fun.
Coach, we really appreciate the time.
Thank you, Coach.
We like you more now because of your musical taste, more than anything.
Absolutely.
And in conclusion, if you want to use my head for one time, for one play, let me know. I okay it. You have the rights to it for one game, one play. And I think that would be hilarious.
I like it.
All right,
we'll make sure it's a good one.
What to say? The dorky dive. Yeah, dorky dive.
Dorky
yeah,
dive,
run
that's
the
the
dorky
play?
dive. All
Okay.
right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.